Ready.
Nuclear waste. Chief Technology Officer Nathan Myhrvold of Microsoft once said, "Nuclear energy is a baseload, meaning that it's energy that can be harnessed at any time, day or night, carbon-free." According to the United States Energy Information Association, 20% of all energy in the United States harnesses from nuclear energy. This means that 1 in 5 households utilize nuclear energy as their energy source. So clearly, nuclear energy is something that vastly impacts our world. To show you how this vastly impacts our world, I will discuss the science of nuclear energy, the dangers of nuclear energy, and the future of nuclear energy. So just how the heck does nuclear energy work? To understand this, you'll need to know a little bit about the science of nuclear energy. Modern day reactors use something called nuclear fission. Fission is when a larger atom, nuclei, is broken down into two smaller pieces of matter. When these pieces of matter are broken up, it releases a great amount of energy. This energy is 1 million times stronger than the strongest chemical reaction. So, usually people talk about uranium when they're talking about nuclear reactions. So, why uranium? Well, uranium is one of the most fissionable atoms in the world. So that makes it efficient and easy to use for reactions. So now that you understand some of the science of nuclear energy, there comes some issues of danger of nuclear energy. The first danger is nuclear waste. Typically, nuclear waste is not stored in containers like are shown above or in apocalyptic movies. They're actually stored in concrete coffins that are filled with helium. The cores of nuclear reactors are placed into these concrete coffins, which reduce the amount of radiation that is left into the environment. And while they do a great job when they're in good working order, over time they break down, and if they're not correctly maintained, they'll release a great amount of waste into the environment, which can damage ecosystems for up to 10,000 years. Another danger of nuclear energy is meltdowns. The most common meltdown that most people know of is the meltdown at Chernobyl. At Chernobyl, there was a test being performed where all the safety systems were removed, and that caused an increase of 100 times the typical production of energy. And that resulted in a full meltdown, which blew the roof off of the reactor and released an incredible amount of radiation into the environment surrounding Chernobyl. In fact, only recently people were allowed to return, and only for short visitations because of the high radiation levels. So while that seems very bad, there have only been 3 major meltdowns since 1951. The first being Chernobyl, another being Fukushima in Japan, and a third being 3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania. So while there are some dangers to nuclear energy, the future of nuclear energy is still bright. With one recent development being something called subcritical thorium reactors. Subcritical thorium reactors utilize fission similar to current nuclear reactors and are able to break down the full element of uranium and thorium, and they don't need to be enriched. This reduces the cost and increases the power of the reaction by 100 times. To put this into perspective, it would only take a 5-time increase to produce enough energy for the entire United States. This would be 20 times that amount of energy. Another recent development is something called nuclear fusion. While we can't attain it now, it is something that many scientists are hoping in the future to be able to utilize. And instead of doing what fission does and breaks atoms down, it fuses them together. So you start with 2 smaller atoms, you fuse them together, which creates a larger atom. And when this fusion occurs, it releases an exponentially greater amount of energy than a fission reaction would. This reaction also releases drastically less radiation than a fission reaction would. This fission reaction or fusion reaction is the same reaction that occurs in the sun. With all of this new information you've just heard, it is clear that nuclear energy certainly has a vast impact on the world. This impact is largely due to the science of nuclear energy, the dangers of nuclear energy, and the future of nuclear energy. While we're in a world where climate is ever changing due to human-fueled carbon emissions, every step to reduce carbon emissions is a step in the right direction. While there are currently other alternative methods that are carbon-free, such as solar energy and hydroelectric energy, the carbon-free option of nuclear energy is one that vastly impacts the world. Thank you. And then here's my family watching.
The dog was too.
And the dog.